As long as the good days outweigh the bad days, you're doing good. You're gonna go 3 months without a paycheck, but it sucks. Yeah, absolutely. So I tell people to have a little side gig, Florida is completely opposite. There's 328 listings within a 5-mile radius from the airport, so down there it's a buyer's market. If you've ever wanted to buy in Florida, now's the time because there's so much to pick from, and every item that was noted had to be fixed. Today in this video, we are gonna talk about all the good, bad, and ugly there is to the real estate industry. One of the biggest things about being a real estate agent that nobody warned you about is all the time you're going to have to put into your business. I teach a class on how to make $100,000 working 3 hours a day. It's a prospecting class. If you prospect well and you prospect 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, we call them income producing activities, your schedule's gonna fill up. No one told me in the beginning I got caught on the how to make $100,000 working 3 hours a day, but that's not the case because you're gonna fill up with appointments. But you're opening up your own business. It's not like you're going to work for somebody. It's all worth it, I promise. I thought about quitting a few times in the beginning, but one of the times I can remember that I really felt like quitting was I didn't realize that the other competition in the area were going to be mean. I was friends with all of them and I was friendly with all of them before I opened up my own brokerage, but I felt like I've had a target on my back since then. They didn't tell me that people's friendships were going to change, and I guess we're competitors, but I don't look at it that way because I'm just trying to help real estate agents, sell real estate. Oh, there's a few. It was a recent one, 2 attorneys, but they were friends of mine, so it was really cool, but they had a really beautiful home. Luxury, beautiful, $400,000 backyard, sunken kitchen, and those kind of buyers in Northwest Ohio are far and few. It's slim here in Northwest Ohio. It was a $900 and some thousand house, and we finally got an offer. The buyer was unrepresented. I told him I only represent the seller, but I did have to work for the buyer, and he was tough. He was tough. He had an inspection on the property, and inspections are great. They're to let you know the big things that are wrong with the home, but in order for him to buy the house, he made us go through an 86-page inspection report, and every item that was noted had to be fixed. It was difficult. It was a very high-end, unique buyer, but we got it closed, and the sellers are happy, and they've moved on. Another worst real estate deal that I've been in was one that we were having an inspection. We walked into the basement, and the water was not turned on. So, of course, I was brand new in the business. I said, here, let me turn it on. The lever broke and the whole basement flooded. They had to call a restoration company, and they still bought the house, and I had to pay for some restoration repair, but I won't touch any levers in anybody's house ever again. When I was running internet leads in my career, when I was hot and heavy, we would have people ghost us all the time, meet me at a property and they wouldn't show up. It would go one or two ways, I would call that client and, of course I would say, I think I wrote it down on the wrong time and the wrong day, so I'm very sorry. I sort of turn it back on me. If they don't call me back, they weren't worth my time anyways, but if they do call me back, they feel bad and I've got a client for life. Deals fall apart back to back to back all the time. I tell people that as long as the good days outweigh the bad days, you're doing good. It sucks, and it really sucks for agents that are counting on that money. But I teach in our classes that I don't count on all that money until it's closed. If the deals blow apart, it's not the end of the world. It's only the end of the world is if you lose the client. You can't lose the client. As long as you save the client and they end up buying or selling the house anyways, it's all good anyways. You just wasted some time, which you're gonna waste a lot of time. Yes, there's been plenty of months where I've only made $0, especially in the beginning, and you just have to plan on it, especially the first 3 months. When someone gets licensed or they transfer from me, or they've been at another company for 6 months and they haven't learned shit, that's my favorite person because, I'm going to tell them right off the bat, you're going to be 90 days with no money. I need 30 days just to teach you the basics. You're going to need a whole year to learn everything, but I need 30 days just to teach you what you need to know before you even go out and think about working with a buyer or a seller. But right after that is when the magic happens, okay? You're going to start generating some business and some activity, and then you're going to go out showing some houses, or you're going to list one and it's going to sell, and it takes 30 days to close. You're going to go 3 months without a paycheck, but it sucks. Yeah, absolutely. So I tell people to have a little side gig. I've seen agents bartend, serve tables, DoorDash. No more, they're full-time real estate agents because they have their nights, their weekends, their holidays, their summers, all free to where they can go out and sell houses. There's been lots of disrespectful things said about me, but it is what it is. It's hard to swallow. I could get on the phone and start yelling. I could go file complaints and all that, but no, I'm just gonna go tell all the other real estate agents in Northwest Ohio why Serenity Realty is the best company to be at. It's the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated. In that same token, they're going to come up with real estate agents that have a big ego, and they're going to come up with being disrespected. And I always teach, and we always lead with love, and we kill them with kindness, no matter what. Most of the time, Serenity Realty agents are very respectful. The last housing market shift I've seen was in 2008, and it wiped me right out of the business. You know, the lenders were giving out loans to anybody. They were doing stated income loans. Anybody with a job walk into a bank and get a home loan for $250,000, and everybody went belly up. So that was the toughest times I've seen in the real estate industry. So today we're in a very interesting market. You know, we're still in a seller's market, okay, where if you list a property and you price it right, you should have 5 offers and, you know, escalation clauses and appraisal gap addendums, and you know, you should be able to pick and choose what's going on. That's in Ohio and Michigan right now. You know, Florida is completely opposite. There's 328 listings within a 5-mile radius from the airport. You know, so down there it's a buyer's market. If you've ever wanted to buy in Florida, now's the time, because there's so much to pick from, and you can probably get a deal down there too. But what's the flip side to that? You know, why is everybody leaving? It's the hurricanes, it's the flood insurance, you know. But in Florida, you can go down and get anything you want for probably a deal. I wish the public knew about interest rates, is that if they look at interest rates on a 30-40 year average, the average is around 7%. They had 2.9, 3.5, 4% interest rates, and they were unheard of. And we told the buyers and sellers, these rates are not going to be here. They're only going to be here for a certain amount of time. If you took advantage of that and you got a great interest rate, that's why you're not selling your house right now. One thing about this industry that makes me mad is all the money. Before an agent even comes to me, they have to pay $1,000 for their classes, and then they got to join the board of realtors and the Ohio realtors and the national realtors and then the MLS. They spend like $1,200-$1,800 on their classes, and they spend $1,200, $1,500 when they get on the board. When they come to me, they're broke. You know, I don't want none of their money. It is not about money for me. It's never been about money for me. It's always been about giving back to real estate agents to help them make successful so they can sell houses. And it's always been to not take their money. I don't fit in, okay? I never did. You're never going to see me in a suit and tie. I'm all in at Serenity Realty. For years, I gave back. I was heavily involved in Women's Council of Realtors. I was heavily involved in my recovery program. It's all about the politics, you know. I didn't fit in with most of them because I don't look like them. I don't act like them. I'm not like them. And so it's been a little bit different for me. So I gave back as much as I could. And then one day I just woke up and said, I'm going to take all that energy and I'm going to focus right in on Serenity Realty. And that's exactly what we've done. One failure that haunts me today that I would do different, the drinking. If I wouldn't have been drinking in 2008 when the market crashed, I don't think I would have fell out of the real estate industry. I would have been doing what I was supposed to do to not fall out of the real estate industry. So if I could go back and change anything, it would be to quit drinking before 2008, where I wouldn't have fell out the business. But it's not my timing. It was God's timing. I was meant to go through that 3 years of the worst of my life. And man, we're still growing all the time, because, you know, people are on deadlines. You're dealing with people as the biggest decision they're ever going to make in their whole entire life. They don't have time to wait until you get back on the weekend trip. You're running your own business, remember. You have to work 24/7. You're responsible for that person's whole transaction. So I'm running my own business. I opened up to help real estate agents, and by golly gee, that's what I'm going to do. One is I was downstairs with my clients down in the basement, and there was a big door on the wall, and as I opened it up, a cat jumped out at me. I scared the shit out of my client so bad. And the second one was, it was another Old West End house. In Old West End, if you don't know Old West End, it's very older, historical, beautiful, beautiful homes. I was showing a home there. We had all gotten done showing the house, and my clients get in their car and leave. I go back in to lock the house up, and I'm in this sunroom area. So you got to walk through a door and you walk into the front door. Well, I let this door shut to lock this door, and this door automatically locked. So I was literally locked into this vestibule. I was locked into this room and I could not get out. So I had to call the listing agent of the home, thank God. But hey, you know, you live and learn. I hold the doors now. If I could go back to my very first year in the real estate business, I would tell myself immediately, don't count on whatever real estate brokerage I go to tell me how I'm going to be successful and sell a whole bunch of houses. I would tell myself to invest in another top producer, join a team. I would go running to the top producer and pay them to follow them around all day and see exactly what they're doing. I would change many things that I did my very first year. That would be my answer. Again, going back to the very beginning, there was one time that I looked at Matt and I had tears in my eyes and I just said, you know what, this isn't for us. I remember having a conversation with the CEO of the Board of Realtors where I had tears in my eyes, because of mud that was getting thrown at me for just simply existing. We are third in transactions, and right in the beginning that, people started slinging mud. There was multiple times where I thought that Matt, we made a wrong decision. I'm glad he kept going, but we're too far in, we ain't going nowhere, and we're here to stay, and we're here to help any real estate agent looking to sell real estate in Ohio, Michigan, or Florida. We'll tell you everything you need to know. Just coming into the real estate industry is great. You're just starting your journey. You just dug the foundation of your brand new business. We'll tell you what work to do to get the results that you want. We'll do your plan, we'll do your coaching, we'll mentor you. Whether you do it or not, that's on you. That's gonna be that should be the ending.